Hi everyone. So today I have a mentee Nidhi with us. Nidhi is a 2019 graduate from Balaji Law College, Pune, and recently Nidhi has secured a job opportunity with IndusLaw, with the disputes team, very famous team of Indus. So let's hear from Nidhi, her journey from non-NLU to reaching one of the best law firms in India. Hi Nidhi, how would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
So hi everyone, I'm Nidhi Chauhan. I am a 2019 graduate from Balaji Law College, Pune, and it's been 2.5 years of experience in litigation. And since then, I've realized that my love for litigation and how much I wanted to be here. So I was working with LJ Law in Bombay. It's a chamber practice. I was working with a solicitor there. And since the time I was in college, since I did many moot courts, I realized that my interest and my passion is for litigation. I used to do moot courts. I used to be a mooter everywhere. So there I learned my research. I learned how arguments are to be, postulated. And then when I joined litigation, I understood how courts function, how they work, the anatomy. I, interacted with counsels, and it is so interesting to be with them and understand their journey. And meanwhile, when you're just aspiring and starting it was a lovely experience. So yeah, then like Samanika just said, that I joined Indus. It's been a week and I'm so grateful that I got that opportunity. Now there's a very common notion that if you're not from an NLU, it's very hard for you to go to these firms. I wouldn't say that it's hard for you, but if you don't come from an NLU and you expect to join the firm right after you graduate, that can be a little uphill task. But if you take your experience, if you gain experience, if you gain skills, I don't think anything is impossible. It's pretty much, because these firms see your experience, see how much you have learned, see your knowledge matters. So yeah, that is it.
Okay, so Nidhi, today only on LinkedIn I saw somebody's post. The student was from Bombay. Actually, two students had written similar post, one from Bombay and one from I think Pune only. They said that they applied to big firms and because of the non-NLU tag, their application was rejected. Right? So, did you also face similar kind of incidents during your college days? And while you've already shared that you were a part of mooting teams and you were mooting to polish your skills and build your CV, what else were you doing? What kind of internships were you looking forward to or engaging in? And did you only do litigation internships? Did you know from day one that you want to join litigation, or were you also exploring law firm internships and other corporate internships?
Right. So what happened was, during my college, I did 3 internships. One, I did it Crawford Bailey. That was a corp internship. And, it's always very important to intern at different places just to analyze what your area of interest is. So, yeah, I did that. And then 2, I did it in chamber practice and with 2 advocates who are in Pune, since I'm from Pune. So, yeah, I did it there. So now what happens is, because I was not from an NLU, even if I applied for, I think, two firms which were in tier 1, tier 2 categories. But you will be surprised that one of the firms actually, shortlisted my CV and they interviewed me. But, as it was the pandemic time, their recruitment, their recruitment conditions were very, very stringent. So only that could stop them from recruiting, and not my college name. So, like you say that, like the 2 people who posted, they faced problems in interviews, or, they faced problems in getting recruited. Now, there can be multiple reasons. I mean, one could be that there could be no vacancy. Second could be like their profile could not have matched for the, for the post that they would apply for. It's very, very important to know your post. It's very important to be very specific, because, I have seen these firms are very particular about their areas, their teams. So you have infrastructure team, you have litigation team, you have your corp team. If someone, sends CV, because they take their CVs and their HR process very seriously. So, there can be multiple reasons. You cannot connect it to saying that, your college matters, or just because you were not from an NLU, you were rejected. There are that's the biggest, myth, I would say, that people have, because I myself have experienced it. So, I would be better to say that. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So, when you decided that you wanted to shift from litigation to law firm, right? How did you end up coming to YLCC, and in what ways were we able to help you achieve this goal?
So yeah, in applying in these law firms, the biggest thing that you should focus on is your CV. Now there are many people in the market who offer who offer guidance. But YLCC being a very fresh name, they've just come in, they've just arrived, and they're flourishing. I mean, you Google it and you see YLCC popping up, you see their website, it is very, very interesting. And the team that is there in YLCC, it's so see, there are three factors that I saw which distinguished YLCC from others. One, it was very, very accessible. Others, if you see, already have like a very high build profile, and you feel that, oh my god, you need to have that kind of finance with you while approaching them. But then yeah, YLCC one was very accessible, not in terms of only money per se, but you open their website and you get that vibe that no, they can help you, and they're very new and very innovative in their ideas. So yeah, that is one. Second is that they're very like cost efficient, and they understand, because YLCC is not a team who have people who have like 20-30 years of experience, and who claiming to kind of back you up. But they are amongst us. I mean, they are someone who have been in this field, they are someone who have seen the adversities, and they understand. So yeah, second, it's very cost efficient. And third is that they're very particular, their work ethics are very, very strong. So when they guide you, when they give you the mentorship, they know where to correct you, and they'll never go wrong. I mean, I had sent my CV to YLCC, and they were so prompt, very, very prompt, and they pointed out even little things that you couldn't notice. So for example, just to like quote one example, is that people have the habit of attaching their photo in the CV. Now the problem is that the photo occupies more of the space. Instead of that photo, you can put two good things about yourself, which now they're not concerned how you look, they're not bothered. If they want to see you, they'll see you in the video call. Your photo won't let you go ahead. So yeah, so just removing that photo made me add two things about me, and which I think would have acted in a positive way. So yeah, YLCC has been a great experience.
Okay. So, Nidhi, like I'll take you back to your college part. Now, how difficult was it for you to secure your first job coming from non-NLU background, and most importantly, during peak pandemic times? So, how difficult and how much did you struggle to secure that first job of yours? What were the key factors you were keeping in mind when you were looking for your first job?
All right. So now I wouldn't say that it was easy. It wasn't, because this was the time which has affected almost everyone, and literally where you cannot work from home. So when that is not there, and people have to literally recruit people and get them to office, having very limited amount of money with them. So that was a problem. I applied to various firms. So I kept on sending my CVs. Then I shortlisted a few firms. Now I understood that okay, these firms wouldn't take me because they have their own stringent kind of regulations and stuff. So then what I did was I noted down a few known names in Bombay, advocates who have like good practice, and who are ready to recruit people, who are ready to work, and their work ethics are good, they're efficient. So I noted them down. I contacted their HRs, or maybe I called directly in the office. Now, key factors that I kept in mind, since it was my first job after I passed out. So yeah, the few factors that I kept in mind was that I was very clear in what field do I want to work in, saying what team do I want to work in. I knew I always had this a bending towards arbitration. I had a bending towards, working in a litigation team where I had to go to courts and, actually be there with counsels and prepare briefs and, assist them. So, yeah. So then I noted my interest and I was very clear. So if someone would have asked me that, okay, what area you want to work with? So I used to say I wanted to work in arbitration or maybe disputes team and real estate, because I could know that I could do things in real estate. I was very clear that I don't want corp, I don't want to go into any other area. So they used to always be very particular. I wouldn't want to do banking and finance. So these little things matter, because your clarity of thought tells how tells the other person. It conveys a very strong impression. And always keep in mind that one thing that I kept in mind throughout, which I still do, is your confidence. It matters, because no matter how much ever I know people who barely know what they're doing, when preparing a matter, but then their attitude would be such, you build a trust over them, and then eventually things work out. So yeah, one was the interest, second was my confidence, and third was I made sure that I approach only those people who I would know that I would be comfortable working in. So always research about those advocates or people. You have LinkedIn now. It is so approachable. You can also, I messaged a few people on LinkedIn, but because my my preference was Bombay, so I couldn't, go to any other city. This is another thing that you should keep in mind, is your city. If you're comfortable working in, Delhi or say Bangalore, then it's a good thing, because then you open doors for yourself. So yeah, those are the things that I kept in mind.
Okay, great. Now, having certain experience of already worked in a chamber, now you weren't a fresher when you were going for the law firm interview, right? So what differently were we able to offer you during our interview growth camp? Because you've already worked there, I'm pretty sure you might have been interviewed in the past as well, right? So what different did you learn during the growth camp as a professional, which helped you secure the job?
So yeah, since I was working in a solicitor firm, when you think of a solicitor firm or maybe a chamber practice, or maybe when you're working with a council, it becomes very different when you even think of switching to a law firm. Because if you compare the strength of a law firm to that of a chamber, you will realize suddenly there's a shift. So, while thinking of shifting a job now, obviously, when you think of shifting a job, it's not that, you think today and tomorrow you're placed. So, you have to give yourself some time. And also because there was pandemic, I was, wondering that, how to go ahead and how to prove myself. That's when I got to know about YLCC and, it's a growth camp. So it was actually first growth camp that I ever attended. And, that YLCC organized. So it was great. I mean, generally if there are sessions, there will be like a 1 hour or a 2 hour session. This was like a very nice all day long organized session. And, there were 2 days. There was an HR session and there was a technical round session. So, the biggest advantage I thought, or my favorite section of, the growth camp was where we got to interact with people who had worked in the law firms. So, and known names, not like any advocate or any associate, like known people who have, achieved already like greater things in life, and they could mentor us or they could tell us better perspective. So when you think of going to a law firm, you have to groom yourself. You can't, expect to behave the same as you were behaving in a chamber practice, because there people are not that much bothered about, how you behave or how you stay. Your dressing matters in a law firm, how you talk, the way you interact, how much you talk also matters. So yeah, so detailed things, right from how you should build your CV, what is seen, if you have a particular area of interest, what steps can you do. I remember during the YLCC growth camp sessions, one student asked that, okay, my interest is arbitration, now how do I go ahead? So we were guided as to how to go ahead, is that you start writing research papers, you start reading more about arbitration, you get to know, or maybe, then we were introduced to this site called IMENT, it's a
Right.
news website. Yeah, so you just type there whatever your interest is, and then you get to know. So these little new things. So like I said, that they're very innovative in the way they teach you or in the way they groom you. It doesn't feel like you're in a session as per se, but it's very interesting. You feel that it should just go on, and you keep noting down new things, and experiences come up. It's a very interactive thing. It's not that one person is speaking and then you're just listening to it. It's always a two-way interaction. So yeah, there I got to know that how to groom myself. What exactly do I need to do? Also because it was pandemic and not everyone was ready to recruit you, and this change or this shift was huge. So it took me, I think, 3 to 4 months to kind of make this decision, take this decision, and then I started applying. And then their interview process also take time. So one thing that I learned with YLCC was patience and efficiency. Like, while it's worth the wait, it's not that you do it and then you get it immediately. You have to work for it. And while CC's technical training sessions have helped me knowing my area of interest better, analyzing it. HR sessions have told me what HR would actually see in you. You have to know yourself very, very well. Whatever you write in your CV, it has to match whatever you speak, whatever is there in the CV, it should match, because they ask you very, very well. So one thing that YLCC keeps stressing on is that know your CV very well. You write something and then they ask you when you don't know that answer, that gives a very bad impression. So yeah, YLCC have actually highlighted few points which other people might miss, because it's not commercialized. They focus on results more than anything else. They don't consider it as a business per se. But yeah, for them, recruitment matters. For them, the careers matter. For them, they want people to know the insight. So yeah.
I just feel like saying मैं थोड़ा रो दूं क्या because because you actually like said everything we truly believe in. We've been trying to practice, and hearing this from the other side actually felt as if like somebody was talking my script. Like usually this is what we say, that as entrepreneurs our aim here is to transform lives first and then do the business, and not the other way around. But somebody else saying it on our behalf organically without me paying you to say this is like something it actually feels like a huge achievement. So thank you so much for that. And I'm really glad you were able to get so much of value, so much of clarity. So a few questions now, Nidhi. You said that was your first growth camp. Very interestingly, you actually attended a first interview growth camp. So it was first for both sides actually. That was my first session I did, and at that point of time during pandemic, I was being very skeptical. On one side, we wanted to make some money so that we can sustain because we were bootstrapping. On the other hand, we wanted to make it more affordable also. So I had kept the minimal cost of 799 at that point of time. And you were there during both the sessions. So I had invited partners from law firms also to interact with you. During the HR round, we had one of the litigation partners who had come. Right now, Chauhan was there. He was the partner at HSA first, and then moved to Argus. Now he's into independent practice in Bombay. Right. So his style of interviewing is to a great extent the way I do, where he focuses more on the personality of the person rather than too much, not giving too much focus on the technical part, especially for the freshers. Right. So on the other hand, on day two, we had another partner who focuses more on the technical part, and in addition, of course, the personality, right? So, which amongst the two sessions influenced you more? Which was the one you resonated more with? And what were your key takeaways from specifically from that part where you got to interact with the partners?
So yeah, my personal favorite, or if I have to pick one, I would say definitely the one in the HR session. I think it was the first day when Chauhan came, So yeah, so I picked the most of my content from Shaheen, and I learned because I remember even you telling us that when it was your interview at HSA, he focused more on the HR questions, and he did not go into technical. So that's what, even when we interacted with him, what he said is one sentence that I remember from he narrating his own stories, and he telling us how to go ahead, is that he said that if you should feel, when you get up in the morning, you should feel like, I have to go to that job, I want to go to that job. It should not feel like a have to, it should not feel like an obligation. So it showed how much passion he has towards his work, and how much the stability matters to him. So yeah, when he was grooming us, one thing I realized is that personality is something which you have to work on, because knowledge you can gain. It's not like that everyone knows everything. You can't have all the eggs in one basket. You can't really learn all the laws, all the sections. You can't know what's going to happen. It comes, but if you don't have that passion or that will to learn, you should be sincere enough. I learned like various values. He was very confident when he was speaking, and he was very clear that look, if you know that you want to do this, no one can stop you. Like, even he had such a big shift from working in firm for so many years, like almost more than 15 years, and then he decided to go independent. That's because of his inner thought, his inner instinct. So he's someone who followed instincts, and he focused more on being a good person, and being your values, keeping your values at right place. So yeah, for me, HR session was the most, I think I learned a lot from that session, and also Shaheen's insight were like a cherry to the cake. So yeah, it was beautiful, because when Shaheen spoke, I believe everyone had some or the other question, and he was kind enough to reply to them. And he was very patient. He gave us like a lot of time, and even when you asked him a few questions, he did not hesitate in answering to it. So that gave us also like that leverage ki, chalo, even if he's a partner, we can approach him, and can ask him, and he was more than happy to answer that query. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, my interview was not taken by Shine. My interview was taken by Anjan sir, who was my senior partner. But yes, I have interacted with Shine multiple times. He was like the go-to mentor to most of the freshers because of the amount of positivity he carries and like the
Right.
energy and confidence. So he'll not sugarcoat things. He'll be very straightforward, but he would always put things in very simple terms. For example, I remember when I wanted to go for AFCAT, but I hadn't cleared it. So I went and approached him saying, Shan, can you give me like 5 minutes? I just need one answer. He's like, हाँ बोल ना. That's
Mm.
how he talks, like बिल्कुल typical
Right.
Mumbai accent. So I was like,
Mm.
Shan, and despite him being so senior, he's always very humble. He'll not let you call him sir or something.
Very,
Like,
yeah.
call me by my name. So I was like, Shayan, I couldn't clear AFCAT. Now, my heart says I really want to join forces, but my mind says that if I'm already doing well here, maybe I should continue. So what should I do? So
Mm.
he just looked at me and he said, did you give your 100%? I have only question for you. And that will give you your answer. If you gave your 100% and didn't get what you are looking for, then maybe destiny has different plans.
It's
But if
not
you
meant for
didn't give
you.
your 100%, first you give your 100% and then look for other things. And that's it.
Mm.
That's how he is. Like, that's how he'll always simplify things. So,
Right.
even when I was like after HSA days, also, when I was preparing for JAG and AFCAT, and I used to get into these doubtful things, I would text him, I need a help. Like, can you help me with this query? And very
Mm.
simply, he would put, so you're right. He always says, go with your instincts, but most importantly, focus on how happy are you about what you are doing. So,
Absolutely, because it matters. Even I have realized that being into litigation, it can be very strenuous, as compared to corp. No offense, obviously, but as compared to corp in the litigation, you have to be on your toes, because you never know, your matter is reaching in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, you have another matter in another court, and you have to run, and then you have to coordinate with the counsel, because they are again busy in their things. So litigation teaches you many things in life as well. because you get to apply them personally. And that's what I remember in one of the HR sessions, YLCC also told us that it's not just your profession that matters. You have to balance your personal life as well. So yeah.
Okay, great. So, last question, Nidhi. Now, after attending the growth camp, before your interview, you had scheduled few one-on-one calls. How were these one-on-one calls helpful? I remember going through your answers and grilling you. Nidhi, ऐसे नहीं, ऐसे you have to say. You are trying to
Right.
convey something, but it is not getting conveyed. You are sending probably a wrong message by saying it in this manner.
Right.
So, how were
Right.
those one-on-one sessions helpful?
Sure. So, like I said, that when you shift to the law firms, it's a big switch. You have to focus on various things. Now, with the CV that I remember I had sent you, this one-on-one was basically a discussion on my CV. So when I sent you the CV, that CV was the same CV on the basis of which I was, selected in that chamber practice in my previous workplace, because their aesthetics didn't really matter, and they focused more on my internships, and they took my interview and I was in. But then when we go to law firm, there are a lot of things which you told me. So for example, you told me that I should add, it was getting very, I should add my experience first, and like my internships later, my work experience first. And then you said remove the photo because it's getting a lot of space. Also, you told me to add my LinkedIn LinkedIn profiles link to the CV. That gave a very good look also, and then it becomes accessible, because these days LinkedIn is very important. That's another aspect that I see while she's focusing on the most, because how to optimize your LinkedIn profile is not what everyone will tell you. This is one thing that you guys have come up with. So yeah, and then you told me to add a few more things which would tell them more about myself. So yeah, I remember you checking it very pertinently, and LCC was very particular. It is very particular when it comes to CV, because it understands the importance of CV in your recruitment process. It's not that you write anything and you get selected. You have to be very, very particular. I remember I had written my work experience in a way that it was in there was some, for example, a dispute or something, and then I did something and there was a product out of it, like a result out of it. So you told me that not everything has to be written in this way. So yeah, you restructured my CV in a way, while CC restructured my CV in a way that it looked very crisp. I remember in my interview, the principal associate and the partner took in my second round. So Indus had 3 rounds of interview. First was taken by principal associate, second was taken by the partner and the principal associate, and third was when the HR actually communicated with me. So in the second round, the partner said that, okay, Nidhi, after looking at your CV, it seems that you have worked a lot. Like you have, done a lot of things. And then, she kept on asking me questions. So for them, for these firms, CV matters. No matter, I did not put my photo, I removed my photo the moment YLCC told me that, okay, this is taking a lot of space, please remove it. And then I removed it and then added 2-3 more sentences about myself. So yeah, that really helped.
Yeah, because I remember you had written a lot of things about litigation, but nothing was specific. Most of the things were very generic. So
Yeah.
I told you, Nidhi, like you have to clearly see. If you're saying I've worked around constitution, what were you actually doing? If you worked around pleadings and all, what kind of pleading work were you doing and all? So
Right.
that specification actually helps
Mm.
in letting the other person know that what specific knowledge do you have and from what domain can they ask. Because again, if you say I worked on constitution, now if I am the interviewing person, I would simply say, okay, tell me what is article 299 or something like that. Because if you are increasing the scope so much,
Right.
then I would also want to test how much knowledge you have. On the
Right.
other hand, if you clearly say that I worked on fundamental rights, fundamental duties, emergency provisions, then you
Right.
yourself help in reducing the scope of interview for the interviewer as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember I wrote that, I drafted notices under the SURFACE Act. You
Yeah.
told me notices under what provisions. So then I, specified that, okay, 13.2, 13.4. And then I added 2-3 more words which made it very, very clear as to, okay, what this girl has actually did. So, that and the principal associate actually went on and, asked me question on that. So that helped me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Also, the fact that because you mentioned about provisions, now many a times it happens that because as students or as interns, since we continue working on a particular provision and in that particular chamber, usually then it is a section or the provision which is commonly said कि अच्छा 13(4) की file देना, अच्छा 13(4) का matter लगा है, and that you tend to forget that maybe the other person might not actually remember the provision. Like they may know the concept, but they may not remember because they are not practicing it on an everyday basis. Now, if they are taking your interview, it might happen that two things can happen. They'll not ask you a question around it for two reasons. One is, या तो वो खुद बेवकूफ नहीं sound करना चाह रहे हो, अगर उनको exactly नहीं याद कि ये section क्या था. And दूसरा is that they'll be like, okay, maybe this is not so relevant, but मुझे जो आता है मैं उसी provision से पूछूं. On the other hand, if you clearly say, like for example, ठीक है 14, 19, 21 of Constitution, everybody knows, right? But if you are dealing with maybe some other article, let's say 370 for example, now it is no more there. But let's say if you worked around 370, it is better that if you're clearly saying that, okay, section 370 dealing with so and so. It might take 4 more words in your CV, but it gives a clear impression to the other.
It's clarity. I remember that when sections were not mentioned, you said that, okay, if you don't mention a section and if they ask you that, and then you don't know, then it'll again become very awkward because, okay, she said that, okay, she's read this act, so then this act means any section she knows. So it's always better. Also, one thing that I noted that YLCC made very prominent is that it made me actually realize is that if you put the sections, so for example, for arbitration, I had, worked on section 8, then I worked on section 9, section 17. It became very quick for the interviewer to ask me because then, she had kind of an outline with her. She knew what to ask. She knew that, okay, these sections. So then there was no beating around the bush in that way. It was very, very clear that, okay, section 8, what is section 8? What are the recent judgments and what, which I had already prepared because of the technical round that I had. So, I knew. I mean, YLCC already made it clear that whatever section or whatever provision you mention, always know what has recently happened. Because if you don't know that, and this is something very common, you take any firm, tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 also, they would always want to know that what is, okay, you might have worked on a particular provision, say 2 years ago. But what is the current position now? How much do you know? Because, in our field, whether it is anything, updates are very important, because every day something new is happening. Every day, people are learning. Things are changing. You never know which provision would be struck down tomorrow, which provision would come up. So yeah, that is very important.
Yeah, because honestly, this is something I learned through my SSV's experience at Jack, because there the interviewing officer is not from legal background. So the moment they get to know that somebody is coming for a legal interview, for them it is like law matlab kahin se bhi pucho. Now the moment I told him I'm a corporate lawyer, he started asking me, okay, tell me what is article 356 of the Constitution. At that point of time, I couldn't have told him that, sir, I just told you I am from corporate background, right? Because they do expect you to know everything. But in corporates or in non SSB interviews where the other person is from legal background, it is always advisable you simplify things for them. While mentioning section actually helps, because in your case, like you mentioned, section 8 and 9, these are very prominent provisions of arbitration. But let's say if a recruiting partner, the common recruiting partner, like a lot of big firms have this concept that the recruiting partner goes for placements and not the like team heads. That particular partner is recruiting for all different teams. Now for disputes team, 8 and 9 section is something on their fingertips all the time. So they know what that section is. But let's say similarly, every team might have a certain number of provisions which are on their fingertips, right? But if the recruiting partner is going, many a times it might happen that he may not exactly remember what the section is about. So then I always say, along with that section, just simply write either in bracket or simply write section 8 dealing with so and so under arbitration act this.
Right.
That
Right.
also helps because again like you mentioned that section 8 पूछा या फिर अगर केवल ये लिख दिया what were you working on and didn't mention the section, and if the other person asks you, this also happened during my JAG SSP. So they asked me like how are you managing your expenses. I said, sir, I had recently filed my ITR after HSA. So I got certain money back, and that with that money only, I'm like utilizing it as my pocket money. So they were like, okay, fine. Now because I use the word income tax return, they asked me, tell me which form is filed for that. And it had been almost 7-8 months since I had filled that form. So I completely forgot what was the exact form number. So I got confused between two of the numbers. So I said either this or that. And they were like, but you just said you filled the form, right? So this also happens. All right, Nidhi, thank you so much for taking our time. It was such an interesting conversation.
Thank you so much. All the very best to YLCC.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We didn't realize the time and especially after work hours you took time. So thank you so much and all the best for your law firm journey. Hope you really enjoyed.
I wish everyone all the very best, and it's always better to know in which direction you have to go. Once you do that, I'm sure YLCC is always there to take you to that destination.
So sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care. Take care. Bye.